Good morning, everybody. This is the Canada Poly early edition, apparently, today, but that's all right. We're getting out of here soon. But first, I had to share these stories with you. This is just crazy. I can't believe this is happening. Mackenzie Gray is tweeting, quote, Justice Committee Chair Anthony Housefather tells CTV News that he expects the documents Jody Wilson-Raybould has submitted to the committee will be made public at 3 p.m. on Friday. They're currently translating and redacting personal info from the submissions. So, if you know anything about the news cycle, I pay attention to the news cycle, they bury things at 3 p.m. on a Friday, right? 3 p.m. on a Friday. And if they could get it on Easter weekend, that would be even better because then you've got Friday and Monday. Well, it would be Thursday on Easter weekend, but Friday and then Monday too, people will forget. That's the idea. They go into their weekend and they come back on Monday and they're around the water cooler and they're like, what's that thing that happened on Friday? Oh, it's nothing, right? That's the idea. They want to bury it in the weekend and hopefully something else happens over the weekend, like some terrorist attack somewhere around the world that they can blame on white Christian people. And then they'll go crazy with it for the rest of the news and then they'll bury this, right? That's the idea. That's what they want to do. So they're going to bury this. Whatever happens, they're going to redact it and bury it. That's the point. So be aware. That's what's happening. That's what's happening in Canada. Mistakes in a federal budget quietly corrected online. Finance department blames typing errors. Do you guys remember? I'll take you back to Ontario last year, when the Ford got elected, and it was last year, 2018, and this happened to the NDP, and it was a big mistake. Oh, foot in mouth! I can't believe they did this. And this is the federal government that's been running things for 3 years. It's so terrible. Mistakes in federal budget quietly corrected online, and here's the report. The Department of Finance has quietly updated the online version of this year's federal budget after several mistakes were found in the original table in Parliament last week, including a discrepancy of $2.2 billion. Billion! The department chalks them up to typing errors, but Conservatives warn they undermine trust in the entire document. About a dozen pages of tables listing total spending on 2019 budget initiatives have been updated online to include a handful of corrections in the red text. Conservative MP Kelly McCarthy, sorry if I've got that wrong, said that he discovered serious errors while doing a deep dive into the budget and brought them to the Parliamentary Budget Office, which then alerted the Finance Department. The PBO declined comment. A spokesman for the department denied that is how it happened, saying the errors were, quote, found following internal review. Quote, the corrections do not affect the budget text, nor other financial tables in the budget. The errors were a result of typing errors and were corrected to ensure consistency with the budget text, said spokesman Pierre-Alain Boujold, adding that the corrections don't require the minister to table a new version. So they're not going to even table a new version, and that's a problem. I'll tell you why. I scroll down. Last year, billions in spending for programs that were announced in the 2018 budget but not fully vetted by the Treasury Board process were stacked into a single vote 40. Conservatives decried the lump sum approval as a slush fund, and the Parliamentary Budget Officer issued a scathing report. The legislation accompanying Vote 40 referred to the tables at the back of the budget. Unless Finance Minister Bill Morneau were to present a new version of the document in the House, if the applications are done in the same way this year, the legislation would be referring back to a paper document that is no longer up to date because it hasn't been presented in the House, right? The updates haven't been presented. So you have to vote and deal with what was presented, and what was presented was incorrect by $2.2 billion. Crazy. Back to the article. All of this should raise concerns that the government is not taking its finances seriously, McCarthy said. Macaulay, there's no T in there. There are huge errors in information they're providing to parliamentarians, he said. They table the budget with the Vote 40 slush fund repeated with errors that can't be trusted, which takes away even more oversight. And now there is even less ability for parliamentarians to trust the numbers put before them. So sorry, Mr. Macaulay, I got your name wrong, but the content was correct. It's incredible that they are, number one, it used to be that the government would vote line by line on budgetary spending. And instead of doing that, the Trudeau government has created this Vote 40 thing. And basically, it's a slush fund. It's a lump sum approval, right? So if the total budget is $10 billion, then you vote on spending that $10 billion the way that the Liberals see fit. I don't trust these people to water my plants when I'm not around. Really? Like, these people they can't get a budget right. Just like the Ontario NDP. Do you remember this? Ontario Liberals say there's a 5.7 budget mistake in the NDP. Look, Kathleen Wynne doing a little, I don't know what that is, a little sign there towards Andrea Horwath. But it wasn't a small error. Ontario NDP Andrea Horwath admits to the $1.4 billion hole, 5.7, 1.4. Oh, who's to say who's right and who's wrong? Global News is. Apparently, did the NDP make a $7 billion error in their budget? Who cares about numbers or math? It's just money. It's just your taxpayer money. Who cares, right? Doesn't matter. Again, this is where I live. I live in Ontario. And this is where we live in Canada. And nobody seems to really care about the math. Don't worry about it. We've got lots of room in our spending. We bring in a ton of money. Our GDP is great, except that Alberta's bankrupt and Trudeau's killing our pipelines, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what was bringing in a lot of money for Canada. So that would be problematic in the short and long term. Terrible. And the whole reason I wanted to show you this video this morning, this happened yesterday. I think it was tweeted out yesterday anyway, the 27th, and 4:02 p.m. So that was after I generally do my stuff, and I was busy yesterday evening at a town hall. So I didn't see this until late last night, and I put this on my list for showing you. And yeah, Trudeau says, "Thanks for your donation. Smugger words have never been said," says Free Grassy. Justin Trudeau is failing to help Grassy Narrows, a key test of his commitment to meaningful relationships with First Nations and to a healthy environment. And just watch this. This is... If this was another country's leader, what would you think? And then remember that it's our country's leader. What a jerk. What a jerk.
Prime Minister Trudeau, people in Grassy Narrows are suffering from mercury poisoning. You committed to addressing this crisis.
Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your donation tonight. I really appreciate it. The Liberal Party is filled with different perspectives and different opinions, and we respect them all and our commitment.
If it was your family that's been waiting for 500 days, if your family was suffering from mercury poisoning, what would you do? If it was your family, would you accept it? Would you accept 500 days for 1%?
And he doesn't even break stride. He just continues with his speech and waits for the person to be escorted out. It's incredible. Now, I was at a town hall last night, and the people, some of the people, were concerned that the Conservatives were going to get in and undo all this great work that the Liberals have done. I have a hard time believing that, and there weren't very many people there last night, I'll be honest with you, but the people who were there were either true blood believers or very concerned that the Liberals were going to lose ground because of how bad the SNC Lavalin stuff looks. Like, the questions were like, this looks really bad. Why isn't Trudeau dealing with it? The optics are really bad. He should deal with it. And my question, like, you know, you try not to get into arguments in situations like that. I try not to get into arguments with situations like that. But the failure on balancing the budget, the failure on electoral reform, the terrible rollout of marijuana legalization, it's just been an absolute mess from the law to access to the product to business, right? Like there's no, consumers aren't happy, business people aren't happy, nobody's happy with the legalization of marijuana except for the government, because they've got this monopoly that they created and are enforcing, and they can lay charges against dispensaries they don't like and people they don't like because, you know, they're not using legal marijuana. Right, sure, whatever. But the missteps this government has made, in my mind, way overshadow their successes. And listening to some of these Liberals, these people who are asking questions and these people who are engaged in local politics, I can't believe how little they know and how unaware they are of who this guy really is. And this video shows very clearly who this guy is. A very tone-deaf person who doesn't understand the implications or the reality of what's happening around him. Very, very, just awful. An awful, terrible person. So, anyway, that's just me going off on a little tangent. I can't believe that's the leader of the country, right? Like, if somebody had an issue like that, I would hope that the leader of the country would have the time to discuss with them. And the fact that, you know, yeah, people protest in weird ways and do all sorts of stuff, but you can engage with that. And also shut it down in a way that's not smug and makes you want to just get away from somebody like that. Like somebody who treats another person. It's like going on a date with somebody who treats the waiter like they're less than dirt. You're like, oh, I didn't know you were like that. That's, I hope, what people are doing to Trudeau right now. Waking up and going, oh my God. Because really, goodness me. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to head out because we've got 10 minutes to get out of here now. And, well, maybe I'll see you tonight. I'll probably see you tonight. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca.